Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Guilty as Charged podcast. I know everyone's been talking about this offense and particularly one aspect, those deep passes. So we will get to that, but I wanted to cover this offense as a whole. Aside from the running game, which I'll talk about a little bit, but for the most part, we all know it's Austin Eckler's really good and everyone else is really bad. So it's not a whole lot to cover there. I want to talk about this passing offense, Joe Lombardi's offense as a whole. Is it working? How does it look compared to last year? What's good about it? What's not so good about it? What's Herbert doing? What can they do moving forward? So I've been watching games, all the all 22 from all the games. I've mostly been like really focused on the games since the Baltimore game, but I've been watching all of them. So let's get into it. I have a lot to share from different sources from the internet, which sounds, not that great, but these are people that you obviously would trust that have been sharing information. So I have stats, I have quotes, and I obviously have film. We'll go over all of it. It's going to be a very long video, I think. So grab your popcorn, grab a coffee, whatever you need. Let's get started. So the first thing I want to cover is that, I want to start broad. Where is the offense right now? How does it compare to everything else that's going on in the league or years prior? And one stat really was awesome that at MIBPJ2 had on Twitter is a really great article. I'll link it in the description. Basically talking about where does this offense compare to other first-year offenses this year and over the last 10 years. Is it good? Is it bad? And then he also talks about the Joe Lombardi deep passes sort of problem. But I wanted to start with this particular one. But right now, the Chargers in this current era, only through week 10, obviously. Today is week 11, but through week 10, the Staley, Lombardi, Herbert era it's actually the sixth best start of any year one offense since 2010. Funny enough, for whatever reason, well, I know what the reason is. The Chargers were actually amazingly first, fourth, and sixth on this list. But of course, that's what happens when you have Philip Rivers and how good he is. So you can go ahead and read the article and what it's all talking about. It's a really good one for sure. But that was interesting to see that this offense, the one that we think has been kind of struggling, is still one of the best offenses, year one offenses since 2010. So I think to keep that in mind is important because that's a general overview. Now, how does it compare to just specifically last year's Chargers team? Obviously, it's a little funky because last year we only have weeks 2 through 17. And this year we only have through week 10. So not everything is perfect. We didn't have a full season last year, and we currently, obviously, do not have a full season this year. But as things currently stand, the Chargers do average more points per game than they did last year. It's a slight increase, not a lot, but I think that'll get better as they start playing, the Houston Texans. In terms of EPA per play, you saw on the previous graph that they had them at 0.083. Some have them at 0.080. You get the general idea. Point is, the offense as a whole has jumped from 13th to 8th in EPA per play. Now, when you get to Herbert, it gets a little bit more tricky because his EPA and EPA per play and his CPOE composite score, the score itself has decreased, but his ranking this year has increased. So it was 0.110, now it's 0.103, but he was ranked 20th before, now it's 16th. So take that for whatever you want. The rush EPA, the rushing attack is what's really changed, and part of that, aside from scheme and everything, it's just the fact that the Chargers spent good money and high draft capital on a good offensive line, and it's paid off. You know that. You've been watching the Chargers. What would you say, right? Run left, because Filer and Lindsley and Slater have been incredible. Now, as Arjun pointed out, technically there's no significant difference between running left and running right, at least for this Chargers team. But look, if I'm going to pick one, I'm running behind those guys. So the rush EPA has gone up quite a bit, right? They were 28th. Now they're 6th. The total DVOA of the offense has jumped from 15th to 6th, which is really, really good to see. DVOA generally being, this is the percentage that you'd be better, the percentage that you are better than the average team. So the Chargers in DVOA were only 1.5% better than the average team last year. Now they're 11% better than the average team. And that has them ranked 6th in the NFL on offense. The past DVOA, they're still top 10 either way, but the percent and the ranking were better last year, right? 27.5% and ranked 7th versus 26.9% and ranked 9th. Still a very good offense either way, right? So EPA per play, they are a top 8 offense, and DVOA, they're top 6 offense. So everything's looking pretty good. Even the pass game, which we know or we think has struggled, they're still 9th despite that awful schedule. So things are looking pretty good so far. And as I said, the biggest jump going from, the bad running game last year to a much better running game this year. Some of that is scheme. Some of that is just Austin Eckler being healthy right now. Some of that is Justin Jackson's 75-yard run. But they going from 31st to 15th is very, very good. We do have to acknowledge that that has gotten better. But the problem is, if you look at Herbert's EPA right now, because that's the thing that's holding back what everyone's talking about. Like, almost everything in here would be top 10, but Herbert's EPA per play is kind of holding him back right now. And there's reasons for that. It's Lombardi, it's him, it's the line, whatever you want to call it. It's also these drops. So currently, the Chargers, let's say this. Last year in 15 games, because obviously Herbert only played 15 games, they had X amount of drops, and the EPA lost, or the cost from those drops, was 43. In 2021, we're only 9 games into the season. The EPA cost is already at 37, which is not good, right? That is the 5th worst or 5th best, depending how you look at it, in the league. And it's only going to get worse. That score will only go up from here unless no one drops a pass from here on out, which, do you buy that no one else is going to drop a pass from here on out? I don't. So, depending on who you ask, which database you go to, they have somewhere between 18 and 21 drops. This person has them at 20. I think PFF has them at 21. Generally the same idea. They're projected, Herbert's projected EPA cost this year, because of all the drops, is 70. Remember, last year was 43. That's going to be killing him in EPA per play, or his total EPA, obviously. Not good. He's suffering quite a bit. I'd argue he probably has more drops, but thinks people are, it's kind of wishy-washy sometimes. And he could have caught it, and it was a little bit behind, and his hands were on it, and there was a defender here. It's a bit subjective when trying to do drops. That's why there's so much variance. But in general, you can tell how awful this is. And does anyone think it's going to get better? No, it could get worse. Thankfully, Keenan Allen has generally put it together the last couple of weeks, but everyone else is not doing very well. And I think the problem right now is Mike Williams. There are many problems, but Mike Williams, he's basically struggled, since that Baltimore game, including that Baltimore game, and since they've struggled. Now, we thought he was injured, and he was injured. In that Baltimore game, he was injured. And so, what do you expect from a guy who's just getting onto the field to try to be a decoy or whatever? But since then, and after the bye, where he had time to rest up, Staley has said, nope, he's not struggling because of an injury. So what's going on? Well, part of that is that drop rate, where he's tied right now for the second worst drop rate among wide receivers with, I think, like 50 targets. That's not good. Keenan Allen did struggle. And on this list with guys with 50 targets, 50 or more targets, I think he's 13th, but his number is going down. He's starting to look better. I think he's at 8.4, 8.5 drop rate right now. Mike Williams at 14.6 is awful. And they've come at really awful times. We just saw against the Vikings, how much of a difference in EPA per play, in red zone offense, in the score or the outcome of the game, how much would that have changed if Mike Williams just caught that ball and waltzed into the end zone for a touchdown? Instead, he catches it like he's hugging something. He drops it, and they have to kick a field goal. Not great. The other issue is that Williams is failing to separate right now. Really, the whole offense is. But listen, Cook is 45 years old. Jalen Guyton, I thought would be better at this, honestly, but he's an undrafted free agent. Mike Williams is former 7th overall pick, and he's currently, according to Arjun, 80th out of 117 receivers who qualify for this in getting open versus man, their open rate. I don't know what the rate is, but he's currently ranked 80th. And for example, Keenan Allen, because of course he's Keenan Allen, is 3rd. So Keenan Allen, good. Mike Williams, not so good. And that's why you've seen, a bit of a change and a shift in this offense. They have been trying to feature Keenan Allen more. And we'll talk about some of these coverages that they've been facing in a second. But in general, Keenan Allen has been a lot better. He's getting more open. He's getting more involved, and he's catching the football. And Williams is not getting open. He's not producing. He was hurt, but now he's not hurt, apparently. And he's dropping things that are easy touchdowns. It's really concerning right now. And I think Herbert would obviously benefit from Williams, returning to form, because everything for the first 3 weeks of the season was incredible. And he thought, okay, against the Raiders, it was kind of a day. And the Browns, he had an explosion day, but that was more of a busted coverage sort of thing. But really since then, since week 3, Williams hasn't had a truly dominant looking game, which is crazy because against week 3, he was the Chiefs killer. He walked into Arrowhead like he always does and crushed them. And since then, it's not been good. It really hasn't been good. So let's talk about some positive things. I'm going to try to bounce between things I don't like, things I like, things I don't like, things I like as we go through this. So I'm a bit more fair, if you will. So one of the things that have really worked for this offense so far, and one of the things that I'm really happy to see, is that the first down offense in terms of EPA per play has gone up significantly, and that's in the run game and in the pass game. Like the dropback EPA has gone up, rush EPA per play has gone up, and it's through a couple of things. So I'll talk about this. So the weeks 1 through 6, they were 22nd, and since the bye, right, those last 3 weeks, they're now second in the NFL in EPA per play. Now the Colts are so high up because they are an insanely good rushing EPA per play team right now, mostly because of that line and Jonathan Taylor. But the Chargers, in my opinion, are in the best spot. So before, right, earlier in the season, they were over here, right? Not a great dropback EPA per play. Rushing was okay, but you don't want to clutch yourself with the Bears and the Jets. Whereas here, I'd argue that they're in the best spot of any team because they're isolated by themselves in that top right quadrant, right? A really solid dropback EPA per play, a really solid rush EPA per play. So how have they changed this? Yes, finally, we do have film. So it's a combination of things, and we'll talk about the running game just a little bit. But in terms of first down offense, they've committed themselves to being. Now, I'm just going to show the Eagles game. I know this was their best game. I'm not saying this only happened in the Eagles game. I'm just saying it was easier for me to patch some things together for this game. They're doing a couple of things. One, they're looking a little bit more creative on their plays, and we'll talk about a really creative setup in a bit. But they're also just executing, right? They're blocking. They are, setting up other plays down the line. I think things are starting to click. Arjun pointed out yesterday that the Chargers through weeks 1 through 4 had run everything that they did run in training camp. And now they're just trying to install the rest of their offense as they go. And that was kind of the drawback of this offense not playing so much either together in training camp or during the preseason. They're still trying to install things. They're still trying to get this together. And you could tell that really started to take shape a little bit after a little bit during the Patriots game, definitely during the Eagles game. Some of it blended in there towards the Vikings game, but they kind of regressed in that day. Lombardi did, in my opinion, so did Herbert. But this game, they did a really good job of setting things up on first down. Very similar looks. So I'll have 2 looks that set up the third one, but I'll talk about a couple that I didn't show here. So the first one is just a simple handoff to Roberts. Right, gets a good 9 yards. I think this could have had a touchdown if you go, whoopsie. I think this could have had a touchdown, honestly, because at this point, right here, right, if Schofield gets upfield and blocks this guy, or at least gets in his way, there's nothing that would tell me that Roberts, the kick returner, punt returner, wouldn't just take this completely to the house. But of course, Schofield can't get upfield. He runs into a guy. The other guy behind him catches up. Not great. So that motion is a big part of their offense. I'm curious to see how they do it tonight and moving forward. But against the Eagles, it was a really, really big deal. So that motion is one thing. Now, when they motion, there's a couple of other things, and I'll talk about some previous plays that I didn't show. So another time, same thing, an RPO look, right? You could hand it off to Eckler here. You could keep it. You have Anderson on a slide route. You have the receiver motioning. He could get a handoff here, all those things. And previously they had shown that, well, one, they had shown a screen to Anderson here. And another one they had shown is him just running, again, RPO down here, slide route. Actually, I think it was a play action pass. Herbert would roll out, hit him for play action, all those sorts of things. So there's a lot of things for the defense to look at. On this particular play, same sort of look, right? Movement, RPO. I love this because it gets Herbert on the move and it gets the ball to Palmer. And apparently they've been working together after practice. So I think it's just a really good job of continuing to build things from this offense. Because I don't think they had run that particular play the week prior or any weeks prior. So that's really good. So now that I've shown you that one, think about everything that the defense has to deal with, right? So Herbert could keep it, which he did earlier in the game, for 3 yards. Herbert could hand it off. Would you hand it off to Roundtree? I wouldn't, but you can. You can hand it off to Palmer as he motions. Now, he did hand it off to Roberts and not Palmer, but the same look kind of applies. You can hand it off to Palmer. You could have now Palmer not take the handoff, but actually run out here for a route, catch the ball over here. So many things for the defense have to account for. And this one is actually their signature kill shot. They call this at different points in the game, but this is the first time I really saw them set this up. An excellent throw. I'll talk about it in just a second. So run it through. And I just cannot work a computer today. Oh boy, here we go. Okay, so at this point, if you think about what the defense is thinking of, right? Okay, so Palmer, he's not getting it. Anderson, he's not getting it. Herbert's not going to run it. Oh, we have everything covered, right? There's no possible way that they can make this throw across the field, right? There's no way. And this guy is even thinking, okay, Williams is going this way. Let's protect the outbreaking route. Or maybe if they try to go to Palmer, he's got him. This DB is totally thinking he's running out this way. Instead, Williams runs inside and Herbert makes this improbable throw. I mean, that's a Hall of Fame, real kind of throw right there. It's incredible. I mean, Herbert is amazing. So I love the way they've set those things up on first down. It's creative. It's balanced. It's different. It gets the defense guessing. He gets Herbert on the move, right? Takes advantage of his arm, right? It's a run play. It's an intermediate play. It's a deep play. All those sorts of things. And I really like that. I like that play too. Another thing they're doing is just working with spread, working with empty, letting Herbert identify whatever the open guy is going to be and let him get him the ball. I think it's a good combination of what the offense wants to do. I think it's a good combination of what Herbert can do. I think it's a good combination of, thankfully letting Keenan Allen just do what he's good at, right? Because Herbert's going to identify everyone's in man right here. Who's going to be the open guy? They're going to take this over the middle every single time to Keenan Allen if he's available. Keenan Allen already has inside, so they're just going to give it to him. Herbert knows that, and they go right to him. Piece of cake. This one's more of a confidence throw, but same thing. They're going to go spread, right? Herbert has plenty of options, and I love the confidence here, right? The offensive line was protecting him so well, and the rhythm of the offense was so good in this game that he could have gone to the check down right here. Everyone's thinking, oh, Lombardi's telling him to go to the check down. Lombardi's telling him to go to the check down. That's all he does. Well, the check downs are right here. And Herbert goes, no, I got this. I mean, this is a very ballsy throw to go through here, but Herbert trusts his brain. He trusts his arm and he goes for it. Could have taken the check down. There's two of them standing right there. But he goes to Keenan Allen right there. Does an excellent job of spreading the guys out, spread, empty, whatever they do, letting Herbert decide. Because at some point, if you have enough good receivers, so they'll put out, Williams, Parham, Allen, Eckler, Cook, or whatever it is. That's a lot of different bodies, body types, player types to have to defend. And at some point, the defense is going to be wrong, and they are. So I love when they do that, and I think they could do more. And we'll talk about some of the looks they've been facing in just a bit. I'm just going to briefly talk about this. They do try to run more outside on first down since the bye, and I think that's really changed their offense. You saw it a lot against the Vikings. But I think they noticed that they were just more efficient running outside on first down before the bye, like on this play. And then, of course, they switched to that. And as Arjun pointed out, I think in the first video he ever did for us, running outside is more efficient than running inside, right? You want to try to run more outside. Well, I shouldn't say that. You have to run inside at some point. You can't just run outside. But when you run outside, generally it's more efficient. It's across the NFL. I think even with the Chargers, that was the same last year. You want to try to run more outside. So the Chargers, I think, know that that's something that they were good at or have been good at. And I think they'll only get better. Technically, he doesn't go off tackle here, but you get the idea. They're going horizontal. They're trying to go outside. Either way, one of those two things makes your running tack better. And it was better. And it has been better since the bye. So that's good. Let's talk about a concept that I really, really, really like. And then we'll get into some negatives. So one concept that I really like is their play action slide concept. Some of these plays, you can't quite call them that, but they're built from the same base and the same concept. Let's talk about specifically what I mean by play action slide first, then we'll talk about the play. So at this point, a couple of options. We already hinted at Anderson. And listen, if you've watched one of my breakdowns, you see me talk about it anyway, but just in case, play action, fake the handoff, bootleg out. They always have Herbert bootleg out. And it goes to one of two players, or one of two types of players. It's either the tight end who goes behind the line of scrimmage out to the flat, or the receiver who goes behind the line of scrimmage and out to the flat. Either way, your slide route is a route behind the line of scrimmage and out to the flat. And typically they have it paired with something either deeper or at least intermediate. So they have two kind of parallel routes going, one in the flat and one maybe like a shallow crosser or whatever, or they have something, kind of in the flat and a bit deeper, right? We saw that with the big Williams bomb, right? They had Anderson running the slide route, they showed that, but they also had Williams way down deep. So that's basically it. Behind the line of scrimmage, play action, yada, yada. What I love about this play in particular, and you'll see it on the next one as well, is the Chargers kind of try to do this more up tempo, right? A little bit of misdirection, a little bit of trickery, and going up tempo here. Because look, the Chargers are set now. The defense is not even close to set. You have five guys standing in the same 3 yards of each other, and they're not lined up at all. But the Chargers are ready to go here. And I think it's an excellent use of misdirection. I think it's an excellent use of Herbert's legs, an excellent use of your receivers, getting them on the move. Wonderful, wonderful call there. I really like it. And again, everyone's calling for, let's get Herbert on the move more. Let's move the pocket. Let's run more play action. But then they'd run this beautiful play, a play that gets the defense completely off guard, that goes for a good chunk of yards. And everyone goes, passing chart, right? It's like, it wasn't a deep throw. Well, okay, you can't have it both ways, right? Herbert is on the move. It's a good play. I think it's on first down. It gets a good amount of yards. It gets the ball in your receiver's hands. Clearly, it catches the defense off guard. And yet everyone goes, oh, passing chart. It's not a deep throw. It's like, okay, you got to have, you got to be okay with give and take here, right? They can't all be bombs. If it's a good play, it's a good play. Yeah, it's a short throw. Guess what? It worked. Worked here too. Another thing that they've been working after the bye, I think, is a bit of misdirection on the same sort of idea. So this isn't really like the same slide route where it's not Parham behind the line of scrimmage here, or it's not a receiver behind the line of scrimmage here, but it is a little bit of a wrinkle here that I really, really like. Anderson's going to fake block left, which I don't think I've seen them do this before this season. They're going to fake block left and then head back behind the line of scrimmage into the right, into the flat. And Herbert gets him. They go a little bit up tempo here as well. I cut the video at the wrong time, but at this point, the Eagles weren't quite set. The Chargers were set and ready to go. They walk up to the line, boom, run this play. Oops, I keep doing this. Stop hitting the space bar, Tyler. Blah, blah, blah. There's him. Okay. So again, you're going to see Anderson completely fake to the left here. Wow, I suck at this. Spoiler alert. They score a touchdown. All right, so right there, Anderson fake blocks left. Get Herbert on the move. Touchdown. And again, passing chart. They're not throwing it deep. Well, I mean, it's a pretty good play. I think it's a pretty good play. Last week against the Vikings, same sort of concept, but a different wrinkle to it. This time, more misdirection. They're going to have Parham fake block inside and then go out here. Sort of the same thing with Anderson, right? Fake block, go the other way. Almost like I don't know what it's called. I'm not going to say counter block because that's definitely wrong. But, you get what I'm trying to say. He fakes it and goes the other way. Same idea, though. Play action, bootleg from Herbert, gets open. So watch Parham here. Right, fake block in, bootleg out, wide open. And again, people going, throw it deep more. Look at this awful passing chart. Well, the awful passing chart also includes good plays. Okay, I know they're behind, like they're at the 2-yard line, or they're 2 yards ahead of the line of scrimmage, but these are good plays. Like this play only goes for 3 yards. That's an excellent play, obviously, because the guy was wide open. Anytime the guy is wide open, it's a good play. So again, fake block from Anderson, or from Parham, roll out. Right, the chart shows a limited depth of passing, but it's a great play. It gets a chunk, so that's good. Okay, so one of the things that I wish Lombardi would do more is run screen passes to his tight ends or his running backs, non-wide receiver screen passes. And that, I think, more than anything, has been the drop-off this year. Everyone's talking about the deep passes. I think the drop-off is only like 3% right now, and that's because they played the Eagles. Because the Eagles, you want to go short against them rather than deep, and they did. And so that number's really dropped right now, but I think it'll go back up as the next few games go. But I wish they would run more screen passes because that's taken a big hit this year. And I don't know why. There's potentially something about analytics there that I don't know about. There's, maybe you don't want to throw it behind the line of scrimmage. Maybe you always want to just try to throw it ahead. But I'm surprised at how infrequently they run running back screens, tight end screens, especially with someone like Anderson. I mean, where was Anderson against the Vikings? All right, look at this play. I mean, especially if he can go left. So, I mean, this is as good as it gets. Right, so Anderson has Filer and Slater right in front of him. Boom, we got him. Boom, we got him. And Anderson's one of the best yards after catch tight ends in football. What a great concept. I mean, and again, obviously worked. It's well timed. And I think there is something to that, right? It has to be well timed. So you can't just call this 47 times a game. I'm just surprised they don't call it more because I've yet to see a defense really stop them. Or really anything to Eckler behind the line of scrimmage, right? Throw it to him. Get it Slater in front of him. Let him get some yards. It's easy. Now, they've tried something sort of like this where they'll have the running back, like they'll have Eckler or Roundtree, motion in, run across the line of scrimmage, and then go right to the flat. That hasn't worked. But in terms of this, either as a screen or as a little swing pass to Eckler, whatever it is, I wish they'd run it more because I don't see them being stopped on these yet. And the left side of your line is a godsend with Slater and Filer and Lindsley. So why not run it more? So I always think it's kind of interesting. And I hate, and we all hate, wide receiver screens. My God. I think Arjun has hated them since birth. he despises wide receiver screens. I'm sure there's an efficiency thing with that. He can probably point it out to you, but they haven't worked. It's not even like they're awful calls this year. They also just straight up haven't worked. Do you remember a wide receiver screen working for the team? There was a play against the Chiefs where they threw a wide receiver, no, excuse me, against the Ravens. They threw a wide receiver screen, and there was one receiver that was catching it, one receiver that was blocking, and 3 defenders. It's like, okay, the numbers game is not good there. Why would you run that? That was so frustrating to watch. But again, against the Eagles, like, okay, here. Now, Staley says that if Guyton blocked the wrong guy, this is a walk-in touchdown. But then again, look what happens. Look who drops the football. So, of course, Mike Williams in the end zone, dropping the football. And again here, let's go to Keenan Allen. Now, I understand why they're doing it, right? The run game in general isn't great after Eckler. So they try to manufacture, like, you have Kelly in the game here. I'd rather throw this to Allen on a quick screen than hand this off to Kelly. And so I get it, but it's just not working. I mean, even this play, how many yards do you think Allen gets here, right? Go this way, get 10, get 8. It's like 4. I mean, the defense does rally. Don't get me wrong. They do a very good job rallying, but it's just not the right guys. And they don't have, well, they do. His name is Austin Prohl or Joe Reed. But right now on the active roster, they don't really have a guy like this until they signed Andre Roberts. Now, I think that potentially could change things, right? I don't know if he's much of a goal line guy, taking the brute force of a play, but something like this, you can get him involved. Why not? Herbert can check out of his run or whatever it is, throw this to Roberts. I think there's potentially some damage that could be done there. Okay, let's get into the reason everybody's here, and that's the deep passes. And then the Chargers, truthfully, are not generating enough explosive plays via the deep pass. There's no way around that. That is true. Now, why that's the case, we'll get into. So the big one, I think, from PFF Seth was this chart that showed Drew Brees' passing chart in 2018 and 2019 versus the Chargers in 2021. Sorry, it's not the passing chart. It's the frequency of the routes run by the receivers in different areas. So you don't know, this is a heat map. If it's blue, it's below average frequency. If it's white, it's above average, it's at average frequency. And if it's red, it's above frequency. So if I'm looking at this, the Chargers this year have been running, it's a little bit red here. So they're above average here, and they're above average here, below average on that right sideline, and below average in the middle. You know, more blue is more below, more red is more above average. You get the idea. Where with the Saints, if I'm looking at this, I would say that they have done a better job of sending receivers on routes that are more down the sideline and more in the middle. Right? That makes sense. Here's my question for this chart. I have a couple of questions and comments for this chart. One comment is that, because everyone's saying, okay, the Chargers are sending their guys on fewer deep routes than the Saints. That's kind of what the passing chart looks like. My questions for this, or my comments are that, one, Drew Brees did play behind one of the best offensive lines in football, which includes 2 of the best tackles in football, right? Teron Armstead, Ryan Ramczyk. I didn't have to tell you that. You knew who those players were. I said the Saints offensive line. You probably thought of those 2 players first because they're, all pro talent. I think Duke Manyweather or Brandon Thorne was basically championing Teron Armstead as one of the best tackles in football last year. It's true. Now, I do believe in 2018, Armstead missed some games. I don't know how many. So it was just Ramczyk there. But overall, he had Ramczyk, he had Armstead, right? Herbert has Storm Norton, and it's not as good. And the Saints also have a very good line overall, not just their tackles, but their whole line is pretty good. It's always good. It's been good for a very long time. They invest a ton of talent or a ton of picks in the first round in offensive linemen. That's one comment I'd make when considering this chart. 2, Drew Brees does work with an established system. Remember, he joined the team in 2006. So maybe I would expect a team that's had the same offense and the same coordinator and quarterback since 2006 to maybe be better at getting guys or sending guys open, maybe more creative play calling, whatever it is, than Joe Lombardi, who's in week 10. I would expect that this offense, the Saints offense, the Drew Brees offense with Sean Payton, is more explosive, or it tries to be more explosive, more creative route combinations, whatever. So I think the Chargers will potentially look better on this chart over time. Number 2, yes, they ran these players on these routes, but did defenses play Herbert and Brees the same way? I don't think that would be the case. I don't know, but that's my question. Yeah, you're sending all these deep routes, but are they being given? Are they available? Are the defense letting Brees go for it? Like, hey, yeah, sure, throw your deep shot. I don't believe you can do it, especially in 2018, 2019. Whereas the Chargers know that these guys are playing, cover two, whatever the hell they're playing, cover one, a lot of cover one. That's why this middle is completely taken. Why would you run those certain routes when the two different quarterbacks are being played different ways by the defenses? So that's one thing I consider. Another one is that these are the routes that receivers ran. Where do the pass attempts go? Like, yeah, if the Saints ran 4 verts 100 out of 100 times, that's great. Where'd the pass attempt go? I don't know. It doesn't really explain to me where the pass attempt went, just what the routes were. Like, yeah, maybe they ran, a guy down the sideline here, a guy down the sideline here, every freaking rep. Maybe the pass went to right here. So based on this chart, I don't really know that. Then, of course, I want to know how the charts, maybe this was covered in the article already. How do the charts look in the others year, right? So we have the Chargers offense compared to the other offenses in 2021. And I think we have the Saints offense compared to the other offenses in 18 and 19. But how do they look in each other's year, right? If I put the Chargers offense 2018, 2019, are they more red? Are they more blue? I don't know. Maybe it's covered in the article and I missed it. But those are the things that I'd be asking. I think just looking at this, it's a little too simplified to say, well, they just don't throw it deep. Like, I think there's a lot that goes into it and a lot of reasons why. So interestingly, there's a site that I get all the EPA per play, composite scores, yada, yada. All those graphs you see that Arjun puts up comes from basically the same site. And one of the things I thought that was interesting is that you can do a heat map. Unfortunately, I'm so bummed. I couldn't get a heat map for 2021, but I could get a heat map for 2020's Justin Herbert and 2018, 2019 Drew Brees. I picked 2018, 2019 because that's what this graph is. These are the routes that the receivers ran. This is pass attempts, which I think I'm a little bit more interested in. These are where the ball goes. What is the quarterback being asked to do? Maybe who's getting open? Where are they getting open? I don't know. And it's funny that people would say that Shane Steichen did a better job of letting Herbert throw deep than Joe Lombardi because, or excuse me, that Joe Lombardi treats Herbert like he's Drew Brees, but Shane Steichen didn't. But it's funny that they would say that because this is their passing chart. This is 2020 Herbert. This is 2018, 2019 Drew Brees. They're kind of the same. They're basically the same. And I think it's funny that I'm hearing that Steichen, would not treat Herbert like a Drew Brees. But then look at the passing. Like, what am I supposed to tell you? That's that. Now, I was really bummed I couldn't get 2021 because that would be a great comparison, obviously. I don't know why. I think they're just waiting for the whole season to be over. So that's really a bummer. I'm sure someone else has a passing chart, but this is like, come on. They're basically the same. And if you think that they all look the same, here's Russell Wilson's compared to Drew Brees, 2020 Wilson versus 18-19 Drew Brees, right? So it's not like they all look like this. I mean, in general, the core is the same, right? Most of your passes, between the line of scrimmage and the 10, right? Fewer passes past the 10 and so on. But Wilson's obviously looks different than Drew Brees here. So it's very interesting. I don't know. I think it's kind of it's not the strongest piece of evidence in my opinion. I think it's just too subjective. Like, oh, that looks more red than the other one. But, I think it is a bit of evidence against the idea that Steichen would never treat Herbert like Drew Brees, whereas Lombardi is. Well, I mean, the passing chart looks pretty much the freaking same. So that's interesting. And I do want to see this for 2021 because I think the attempts are more interesting than the routes run by the receivers, because that doesn't really tell me what happened. So let's talk about some reasons that the explosive plays are not showing up. And these aren't even my quotes. I'm just going to talk about from different people, different sources before we get into the film. So the first one, which I thought was really interesting, which I'm glad I included in this, and then Daniel Jeremiah also said it, not that he took my shit, I'm just saying, penalties wipe away deep passes. So let's read Daniel Jeremiah's full quote. So he says, and this is a mailbag question, I think you're going to see this offense try and get a little bit more vertical. It's been a big element when they're playing well. It's the ability to threaten the deep portion of the field. I think some things can be a bit misleading. I think you look at the stats and you say, okay, some of these big plays are lacking, but Mike Williams has done a really good job at drawing some penalties there. Some of those shots have been rewarded with flags that don't necessarily show up in the passing yards. I think that's an outstanding, nuanced way of looking at it, because I think people just look at the stats, the yards per attempt, and that's it. But there were plays, particularly 2 against the Vikings, that were 20-plus yard plays and they drew a flag, and that's great. The offense moves, but Herbert doesn't get credit for the attempt. He doesn't get a completion. Williams doesn't get the catch. Allen doesn't get the catch, whatever. Right. So I think it's a very, very interesting idea from Daniel Jeremiah, which I'll point out in a second because I have 5 plays that show this. Another one, and this is kind of a no duh, is defensive coverages. So this is from Staley himself, from Daniel Popper's article. So on the All-22, I know that you see the frequency of the design of passes that are designed to get to the deep part of the field. Whether or not that happens is a reflection of the cover systems being played or the pass rush. So the pass rush is another thing, kind of duh. But he says that I know that going into the plan, there's a lot of design to get to the deep part of the field. And there's a lot of plays, not only just that are on the call sheet, but that are being called to access that deep part of the field. So a lot in there to me that just kind of shows you that, a part of it is that there's also coverage. Like the defense doesn't want Herbert to do this. We're trying to dial it up. We're trying to design these deep plays. But if the defense is going, everyone stand, at the 10-yard line and play deep, we can't throw it. That's not what they're doing. But you know what I mean? If the defense is trying to take the deep ball away, you have to go underneath, right? We showed with that Keenan Allen slant over the middle, guys playing cover one. I'm not going to throw the post. I'm going to throw it to the slant to Keenan Allen. So anyway, the other issue is, and we have to talk about this, we really do, is Justin Herbert. This is from the Draft Network. I apologize for not remembering who the author was, but it is a piece from the Draft Network that says, add in the heavy and well-disguised blitzing the Vikings employed on Sunday, and the task of driving down the field in short spurts becomes even harder. Minnesota blitzed the opposing quarterback early and often. It did it on about 40% of his dropbacks, and it caused a big drop in Herbert's productivity. He looked like he was rushing through his normal processes on dropbacks. He was missing potential deep throws and confusing his reads on what the defense was giving him. That's an important part there too. And I think against the Vikings and maybe against the Patriots, it's true. Like he is missing potential deep throws and maybe confusing his reads based on what the defense was giving him before the snap and after the snap. I think at some point I want to collaborate with Arjun and talk about rotating coverages and how things pre-snap and post-snap are affecting Justin Herbert, but that's for another time. And the last thing and the most obvious thing is that Storm Norton stinks and Michael Schofield is good half the time, I think. And that's fine. But if both are not playing well, it's a disaster. We saw that against the Patriots. I think Herbert was pressured 4 times on 4 dropbacks on his final drive, just from the right side on the final drive. Like basically what's almost a garbage time drive where you can dump the ball to Eckler. There was like 4 out of 5 plays he was pressured from the right side. That's disgusting. Somehow they did score a touchdown on that drive. That's because he's Justin Herbert. So Storm Norton right now, among tackles, he has allowed the 3rd most pressures in the NFL. I know things have been looking good, but looking at the whole picture of the year, Storm Norton has not been good, right? I know he looked good against the Eagles. He didn't allow, I think he allowed 0 pressures against the Vikings. But there's a couple of things, like they're only 2 games removed from an awful Patriots performance. And before the bye week, a really bad game against the Ravens. And those are good defenses. And so when you start playing these better defenses, it's going to get worse. Thank goodness TJ Watt's not playing tonight. But Storm Norton, again, this affects the game plan. Him and Schofield, it affects the game plan. Like, yeah, he played well in these games, but are you going to go into the game assuming he's going to play well, right? Are you going to, like, so he's had 2 good games, right? But would you go and design your game plan around deep passes, assuming Norton was going to play well against TJ Watt? Thankfully, he's not playing. But would you design your game plan to assume that he's going to be good? I wouldn't. I wouldn't at all. And that's why they're moving him. So penalties wiping away deep passes, defensive coverages, Justin Herbert just struggling right now. And of course, the right side of the line, they're all contributing. Again, notice I did not say that Joe Lombardi is contributing to this, but we'll get into it. So let's talk about the explosive plays. Where are they? We have a lot to dive into for this particular section because this is the main topic that everyone's talking about. So let's do it. So the first couple of plays I want you to notice, I'm just going to kind of talk through them. This one's going to go to Donald Parham. Parham is right here. Sorry, it's Parham. I keep forgetting it's Parham. I got to remember that. I got to be better about that. So this is going to go to Donald Parham. It's going to go for a touchdown. It's a fantastic play. Once again, this is only week 2, right? We see the same sort of thing. Fake the handoff, shift left, throw across your body to the other side of the field. Defense is ready for it. I mean, what a spectacular play to Parham. Next one. This is a great play. Herbert's going to scramble a little bit here. It's not designed movement, but he's going to get out of the pocket, set his feet, and throw to Keenan Allen. This is a completion. Incredible. I can't believe he pulled that off. Amazing. Played on here to Mike Williams. Bummer. Okay, there. Keenan Allen right here. I know I'm flying through this, but it's not really worth describing the play because there's really no point. Another one right here, right? You're going to have Mike Williams right here. It's going to go to him. Another excellent play, excellent quarterback movement here, right? Intentional, fake the handoff, RPO look, get across the field, throw across your body, other side of the field. Just what an outstanding usage of Herbert's arm, right? All 5 of those plays did not count. Now, 3 of them were completions and they did not count. 2 of them were just the defensive pass interferences. But these plays were taken away by holding calls. I think this one was taken away by a Jared Cook holding call. The one we just saw against Dallas with Mike Williams, that was taken away by an Ode Abuji something. I think a legal man downfield, which I think was a ticky-tacky call when they called it anyway, but whatever. All these plays, all these explosive plays, getting Herbert moving, letting him throw, letting him rip. I mean, how much does the passing chart change? Where's that on the passing chart? It doesn't exist. This play here, Rashawn Slater's going to end up getting called for holding, I believe. Right, this gets about 20 yards or whatever. We're in the middle of the field. Where's that on the passing chart? It doesn't exist. This play, Mike Williams down the sideline. Take that shot from the pocket. Defensive pass interference. Great for the offense. Doesn't show up on the passing chart. Keenan Allen down here, right? Pretty solid ball. DB panics, tackles Allen, pass interference. Great. I think it sets up a touchdown, but it doesn't show up on the passing chart, does it? So I think it's a very nuanced point by Daniel Jeremiah. I really appreciate him just bringing that up because it's true. Sorry, I have to go back here. Having to watch this a few more times than you would have liked, but hey, it's a long video. You settled in for a long video. So what I'm trying to say is I blame you. Again, Keenan Allen right here. And look, they're trying to make Justin Herbert a pocket passer. They're not letting him throw deep. They want him to be Drew Brees. There's nothing here in this RPO quarterback movement, throw it 60 yards, that is anything like Drew Brees, okay? That's not a Drew Brees thing. Maybe he's scrambled before. I don't know. But that's not you can tell. I've shown this play many times. It's designed to go here. Another one here. Same thing. RPO, move out, throw across your body. Now we're getting into the part of the show, unfortunately, where I do have to talk about Justin Herbert and the fact that he's either missing throws or missing reads, whatever it is, but he is contributing to this as well. So I've already shown this before. I kept in the animation. I didn't want to take out the animation, go find it again for one play. Basically, same thing. Herbert hands it off or fakes the handoff, goes this way, and can throw it to one of his deep receivers. You see the Chargers do this against the Vikings later on, although I think they did it from like this part of the field and across. This time they started on the left hash, worked left, not a whole lot of room there, but it was still open. Mike Williams is open right here. Keenan Allen's right here. And Justin Herbert goes, okay, I'm going to go here to Keenan Allen. And I think in theory, the idea that Keenan Allen has this guy beat makes sense. But this is the Patriots, and they've watched the film, and they know what's going on because the Chargers have done this a couple of times. And even though they're going to they're basically going to expose themselves and let Mike Williams get wide open right here, I think they bait Justin Herbert into this. And I think Herbert doesn't recognize it until it's too late. And he goes for that kill shot to Keenan Allen, and it's no good, right? It almost ends up being an interception. It kind of reminds me of the play against the Chiefs in week 2 last year, where Herbert just like, I'll go for the aggressive throw instead. And he got picked off instead. Another one, fairly simple. Jalen Guyton, where's he been? I've talked about this, but I'll talk about it again. Jalen Guyton's open right here. Look, and the body language suggests that Herbert wants to go here. He does. All right, he's ready to go. This is not like a last minute thing. He's got all the time in the world. Jalen Guyton's going to have a step on this guy, no problem. But what does he do? Just underthrows Jalen Guyton. And I'm sorry, but Jalen Guyton's not a jump ball guy. He's not much of a catch ball guy either, but he's not exactly a jump ball guy. So if you're asking him to do that, it's a little bit unfair because that's not Jalen Guyton. Him burning the guy down the sideline and then dropping the ball at the 5, that's Jalen Guyton. But jump ball Jalen Guyton, right? Not his thing. All right, this one right here to Mike Williams. You got Mike Williams right here. He's going to kind of work inside, re-stem, and then kind of work back towards the outside just a little bit here. But instead, Herbert's going to opt to take the check down. But Herbert, the thing about this, again, you're telling me that that is not a designed deep shot when Herbert's body language basically suggests he's either going to go to Williams here or Parham right here. One of these two guys is going to get open. I honestly think both are open. Go Parham here, but maybe you don't like this linebacker right here. I don't know. So maybe you want to go to Williams right here, but Williams is going to flash, no problem. This safety is not catching up to him, right? Parham's got the out right here, no problem. Herbert, his body language suggests These are his first, second read, third reads, whatever. And then you have his check down right here. The pressure's not in his face at this moment. He could fire this. This is not a particularly difficult throw for Herbert, at least in terms of distance and velocity. Right? Maybe it's kind of a touch throw and that's difficult, but there's no reason you shouldn't be targeting him here. But instead, he goes to the check down here. Not only does he go to the check down, but he completely misses Eckler by like 10 yards. Let's watch from the other side. Complete miss. I mean, that's kind of brutal. So next play here, we're going to have Jared Cook open. He's going to take the check down again. If he just waited a second longer, Jared Cook is open. Sorry, Jared Cook is right here. Right, and the option is there. It's not like he's not in his field of view. Now, do I fault Herbert for going to Austin Eckler here when he should have this catch and then get another, 10 yards after for a first down? No, I don't fault him for that. I would take this play. Like if I were playing quarterback and I had Eckler ready to go. Oops, go forward a little bit. So if I know I'm going to get Eckler on the angle here and it's wide open in the middle of the field, I would take that too. But don't tell me that the deep pass wasn't called and don't tell me it wasn't available. Jared Cook is about to look like he's wide open for a touchdown here, right? He's not in position. He's not in position. He's not in position. He's not in position. He's kind of going this way, but he's not in position. Jared Cook, I mean, you catch that ball, that's possibly a touchdown, an explosive deep pass touchdown, but it's not there because he goes to Eckler and because he goes to Eckler, not because he goes to Eckler, but he does go to Eckler and then Eckler drops it. So, I mean, that's almost everything on display right there. Right. So you have Cook wide open. Herbert decides to go to the check down. Again, not significant pressure. There's no reason he can't wait a second longer and get this to Cook, but he opts to go to Eckler instead. And then Eckler drops it on third down. At least I believe it's on third down. So it's just a combination of just awful ideas. Another one up here. He's going to decide to go to Keenan Allen, which again, I totally get. But Mike Williams is going to be open up here. This one is a completion. Again, like, how do I fault Justin Herbert for going to Keenan Allen and getting a first down on this play? How can I? It works. They move the chains. It's a good play. But Mike Williams is open up here. And apparently in this game, Mike Williams is open about 2/3 of the time, and Herbert just flat out didn't go to him. Now, there's reasons for that probably. One, I think being that he wants to go to Keenan Allen, obviously. There's another option. But two, Mike Williams is not catching the football. So why would you expect him to make this catch? I think he can. I think Williams is absolutely stunning when he did sideline catches. We all know, we're Chargers fans. Incredible. But for whatever reason, Herbert's just not going to him. But again, can you fault him? Nice first down pick up here, no problem. But watch up here. Yeah, so that's a touchdown. Now, you don't know that the DB is going to fall before you throw it usually. But Williams, not only, he was also open enough. He could make this work. Based on what they're showing, Williams is 100% going to blow the past this guy. And the DB trips. So he's throwing from what, the 20? Where did this play start? From the 29? You have a 71-yard touchdown here, potentially on display. And he goes to Eckler. Or excuse me, he goes to Allen. But again, passing chart, look what the passing chart said. They're telling him to go to Allen instead of Williams. Maybe. I mean, I would go to Allen over Williams, but the deep stuff is there. Herbert's just opting to not go that way. Last one here. This one's a bit more tricky, but this is, I think, a good combination of him not taking that risky shot, him taking the check down instead, and then him also just flat out making the wrong decision. So this play, again, play action, boom, right? Body language. Where's this ball going? It's not going over here. If he goes through his reads, maybe it does. But this ball is designed to go this way. Now, I'll show it in just a little bit. Hold on. Right? So right here, maybe a little bit before that, but I'm not going to try to move the pause. Guyton could beat this guy down the sideline. I get why you wouldn't pull the trigger here, but it's possible. The deep shot is there. It's designed to go to Guyton. That's why he's the first read. But instead, Herbert, now again, Herbert has the option to go here, kind of an odd throw to flip your hips and throw it, but it's possible. Herbert, same direction he's looking, could go here to, I believe, Mike Williams or Donald Parham. But instead, he goes late over the middle to Keenan Allen. Has no idea that Kendricks is right here, I don't think. Or if he does, why would you make that throw instead of something over here? I don't know. Keenan Allen versus linebacker, would you take that? Sure. But, I mean, there's just so many different options, and Herbert just flat out is not seeing it. Later, gosh dang it, I almost had it. I almost had it. I didn't hit that space bar. Hey. Okay. Hold on, folks. It's a long show. A lot of mistakes. Anyway, long story short, Herbert goes over the late and over the middle. He gets picked off. Kendricks picks him off. The deep shot is there. There's Guyton. But obviously he gets picked off. This sets up points for the Vikings, and the Chargers lose this game. So it's a little bit unfortunate, right? We're going through some plays here. I'm thinking, okay, you could go to Williams right here. He doesn't, right? Hello, there's Mike Williams. Have an option there. Maybe Parham over here. Instead, it's an awful throw to Eckler. Miss. You don't need to see it from the backside. Nobody cares. Blah, blah, blah. Get too late. Guess you have to see it anyway. There's Eckler on the miss. Okay. Jared Cook down here. He's wide open. Potentially a touchdown. I thought to Eckler underneath. He drops it. All right. Mike Williams, top of your screen here. He's going to get wide open. He has the opportunity to get open. It's a good ball if you throw it. He goes underneath to Keenan Allen. And over here, you have Jalen Guyton up top. I could get it to him. I could. I'm looking at him. Shoot. I'll throw it this way. Oh, crap. Interception. So not good. And I think, like I said, I'll talk to Arjun about the rotating coverages and maybe break that down next. I think that's worth talking about. But it's not all on Justin Herbert, like I said. So we've already talked about the plays not existing because of penalties. Now we're talking about the plays that do exist, where Herbert isn't getting them there. Therefore, it's like the plays don't exist because he's not throwing that deep option. And I'm sorry, but there are a lot of plays I could pull where Herbert goes, that's a deep shot. No, thank you. I'll go underneath. It's unfortunate, but it happened quite a bit this game against the Vikings in particular. But again, there are also reasons that these deep shots aren't there. And part of it's because the line's not protecting him, or the defense calls a blitz and it flusters him or whatever. So right here, they call Kendricks reads this perfectly. The Chargers have an option here. Keenan Allen is basically going to put his guy in a blender. And I mean, he's going to get a first down. It's an explosive passing play, 20, 30 yards, whatever it ends up being. Maybe you go to Mike Williams, but Keenan Allen's probably the preferred one here. But there's no time for him to throw it. Herbert also just trips. I was sitting over there. It actually looked worse, honestly, from our angle. It looked like he just flat out tripped on the turf. And you can chalk it up to panic. You can chalk it up to just accident, whatever. But then again, the deep pass is here. They're calling it on the first pass play of the game. Second play of the game, first pass play. They call a deep shot, their signature deep shot. And Vikings do a good job detecting it up here, but it's open and Herbert trips and it doesn't exist. It's a sack. That was a bad play. That did not go well. Same thing here, not the same play, but the deep shot's going to be open. I believe this Jalen Guyton's going to be right over here, sort of in the middle of the field. And I think Kelly does not do the right blitz pickup. And Herbert gets hit, right? So here we go, right? All things considered, all good. Jalen Guyton's right here, flat, right? And he catches it right here, gets a couple of yards after, whatever, right? He's got some momentum. He's running. Who knows where he can go with his speed, right? Maybe get 10, 15, 20 yards here. The opportunity to go there is there. Everybody's hit because someone can't protect him. Same thing here. Donald Parham's supposed to go behind the line of scrimmage here, kind of like a slide route, but he stops to block instead. He can't do it. You're going to see Mike Williams, right? Wide open right here. Catches this. Whee! How far does he go? All right, how far can he go? Not only a big play, but some yards after catch as well. Parham can't get his block down. Herbert can't step up and throw. Incomplete. So again, where are the deep passes? Where are these explosive plays? I think an explosive passing play is 15 or more or 16 or more yards. A deep pass is technically 20 more yards, whatever. Explosive plays, deep passes, why aren't they there? Why aren't they there? Well, they're not there for a lot of reasons. And again, I hope you see at this point, the plays are there. I mean, how frustrating is it for Herbert, for Lombardi, whoever, for the guy who catches the ball, to have the penalty go against the lineman because they held, or Cook because he held. or the fourth down call that could have gone for 20 yards, but there was an illegal shift, or the touchdown that could have been there for Jared Cook, but there was an illegal shift. That's got to be so frustrating, right? Not the tight end, the touchdown to Jared Cook against the Cowboys was an explosive play, but still, there's so many mistakes by this offense. And then you see Herbert, I've got the option there, but I'll go underneath instead. And then what's he rewarded with? Drops, bad routes, bad throws. It just, it's so frustrating to watch because you see that it's there and they're there. I'm telling you, they tell you, Staley is telling you that goes into the plan. There's a lot of design to get to the deep part of the field. There's a lot of plays, not just the ones that are on the call sheet, but that are being called to access the deep part of the field. First pass play of the game against the Vikings. It's their signature bomb. It's set up. It's there. And they can't hit it for different reasons. Coverage, line, Kelly, Herbert, whatever. I will play some blame on Lombardi in a second. But they're just not there. And it's so frustrating because he can do it. He can do it. This dude is awesome. So again, let's watch this play. And I'll tell you how awesome he is, because I think we got to talk about how awesome Herbert is and has been. Right? So Parham can't block here. Herbert has no ability to be able to step up and throw this. But you know what he does the next week, even though Parham can't really get to his guy? The exact same look, the exact same play, basically, but with Keenan Allen instead. Palmer blocks initially the blitzer. I think it ends up being the DB, goes more outside this way. So it is a very tough block for Parham, but the same kind of thing applies, right? Same thing. Palmer can't get there. He steps up, but freaking Herbert, man, he learns from his mistakes. He processes it just a little bit faster. And let's show those two plays back to back. They're basically the same play, right? This week, we can't hit Mike Williams because of the pressure. Same general thing, kind of a deep over. What does he do the next game? Right? Learns from it, steps out, flap, beautiful against the Eagles. It's better from the end zone angle. I wish I'd included it. Right? More of Herbert on the move here. I'm not even going to really just talk about these plays. Just watch Herbert play quarterback, man. Because this is there. The potential for him to do so amazing is there. And it's coming. Right? Oh my God, this throw. I'm going to show it from the end zone angle because it has to be shown. Hanging in the loop. I mean, this guy's amazing. The ability to extend and to work outside the pocket. And this throw, I mean, who makes that throw? It's like Mahomes and Herbert. That's pretty much it. Same thing here, right? Getting Herbert on the move. Again, Herbert on the move is there. Gets it to Keenan Allen. And what an excellent job by Keenan Allen to find the right spot. Okay, right here, right? More movement. Find the guy downfield. Boom. I mean, the dude's special. How about this play against the Cowboys? Remember this one, right? How good was this? I think I have this one from the end zone angle too. One of the best throws of the year, right? He can do this. The opportunity is there. And the deep shots are getting open and they're being called. It's just a little 50-50 right now. But Herbert can do this. It's there. And he's going to get there. Yes, the offense is getting complex, but it's there. The opportunity, he will be able to be an excellent quarterback and able to run everything that they ask him eventually. So right now he's struggling just a little bit. But when the line holds up or Herbert's on fire, they can make these things connect. And obviously, when there's no penalties, these things connect. Herbert's flat out magic. He can do this. The explosive plays are there. The deep plays are there. You can see in almost all these plays that I have, whether intentionally or not, Herbert is on the move. Eventually, he will develop more from the pocket, right? Or they'll just keep calling more plays like this and make it simple for him. Right? If he can't read things from the pocket, maybe they'll get him outside more. And they try. Again, their signature deep shot is to get him on the move. Play action, cross your body over here, whatever. Find the open guy. So they have the chance to get there. They do. I think the explosive plays are on their way. And they're there, right? I hope you've seen that they're there, but they're just not working. Now, this is where I'll shift blame to Lombardi. I'll talk about it a little bit now and some more later. Are these the right explosive plays? Are these being called right at the right time? Are they ones Herbert's comfortable with? Are they to the right players? Are they the right route combinations? Are they the right combinations to beat the defense? That's something I could explore later on. They're being called, but I think a more nuanced criticism of Lombardi can be, are they the right explosive calls? Are they the right deep calls? I personally think that enough are there. I think we've shown enough open guys that I think they are the right explosive plays. I've seen Guyton, I've seen Williams, I've seen Allen, I've seen Parham, even seen Cook, right? The opportunities are there, but they're not being capitalized on. So I think the calls are okay, but are they good enough? And are they consistently good enough? I don't know. I think it's another thing someone could explore. So one of the interesting things I noticed from Arjun, I didn't notice from Arjun, he told me the Chargers from the Baltimore game on have faced the most cover one, or not the most cover one. I think it's like the second most cover one in the NFL over that span, and a ton of cover two. But 35.4% of their plays they've been facing a cover one defense. I don't know if that includes how they rotate in between, right? I don't know how much rotation you can do from cover one. Everyone's playing man. You got one safety. Cover two, I don't know how much they rotate. That's a lot of moving parts. So I don't know if this includes only pre-snap, right? Or things that happen when they move. I don't know. But point is they're facing a lot of cover one, which means to me, you're doing a lot of cover one. You're doing a lot of man beaters, right? You're trying to get mesh going on. Like Michael, I asked everyone on Twitter, what would you do against a lot of cover one? And the answers were, from Michael Peterson from Bolts from the Blue, I'll run a lot of mesh. That's a good one. That's a man beater. The Chargers have run that before. They had the personnel to do it. And I've talked about them doing it. So that's one. Some people suggested get Herbert on the move more. That's a good one. Eckler on a Texas route. That's good. Generally, so far, it's been, let Keenan Allen beat these guys. Here's the thing, though. The thing that sucks about them facing so much cover one, right? So over a third of their snaps, they're facing cover one. But let's go back. So cover one, you're playing a lot of man-to-man. This receiving core stinks against man, right? The defenses are realizing, okay, we'll play cover two to take away the deep ball, sure. But let's also play some cover one, A, because we can have a safety in the middle of the field, so that's good. But B, your guys outside of Keenan Allen can't beat our guys, and our guys aren't that good. But Williams, Guyton, Cook, I think Palmer's also struggling. He's not very, I know there was a chart like this for rookies, and he was down there too, and that wasn't that great. These guys just aren't getting open against man. So when they're running a lot of cover one, they're going, okay, we'll stick a safety back there. And, good luck, beat us. And if Keenan Allen beats us, so be it. We'll take the 7-15 yards or whatever over the explosive play. Have at it. Otherwise, Williams, 80th against getting open against man. Guyton, 103rd. Cook, 109th out of 117. So it's like your superstar firstborn or whatever, and then a bunch of whatever. It's like, it's not been good for them. The Chargers have not been good getting open versus man. How's it against zone? I don't know. I don't have the graph for that right now. But I can tell you they've been playing so much man. They're facing so much cover one, so much man, and yet these receivers aren't getting open. That's a bad combination. And you wonder why the offense hasn't looked so good. It's all these reasons right here. The deep passes, explosive plays, they don't exist. The defense is covering them. Herbert's not playing well. Line's not blocking. They're there, but they're just not working right now. And then they're playing a ton of cover one and asking your receivers to win one-on-ones, and they literally can't. Williams, your former 7th overall pick, who wants to make $20 million this offseason, is like 80th out of 117 against man. I don't know why, because earlier in the year, he looked really, really good against man, right? He was the slant guy beating everybody. I don't really know what happened, but it's a problem. It's a problem right now. And then obviously the cover two to take away the deep ball, all that stuff. It's a problem right now, and hopefully things get better, but we'll see. Tonight, the Chargers play a team that's basically missing half their defense. So hopefully the Chargers can get a little more explosive plays here. Okay, so one thing I definitely got to talk about that's good is that the red zone offense has gotten up. And again, if the Chargers had, converted on a touchdown against the Eagles, or if there's a couple plays against the Cowboys, where if Herbert had just hit Cook in stride, it would have been a touchdown, or Parham, was wide open. If he hit him, it was a touchdown. Or, the Chargers right now are 12th in red zone scoring percentage, at least in terms of just touchdowns, but they're only behind the 11th place team by 0.34%. If Williams basically just catches that touchdown against the Vikings, I'm sure they're 11th. You make one or two more plays, and the Chargers are a top 10 team in the red zone in terms of touchdown scoring percentage. The good news is that is up 5.5% from last year, so that's good. Part of that, I think, is because the offensive line is better. Part of that's because the involvement of the tight ends. So let's talk about that. So again, it's a good involvement of the tight ends, and I think continuing to involve them, I think it's both a criticism and a praise for him, right? I think Lombardi does in moments involve the tight ends in the red zone. And I'd always, not always, it seems to work very frequently, no matter where you go. You have Cook here. All right, next one we'll see is Donald Parham. All right, we saw this play earlier, Steve Anderson. I think you should involve these guys a little bit more. I think they'd be more successful if they did, rather than throw a wide receiver screen to Mike Williams or a slant to Mike Williams, because apparently he can't catch either. But these guys, I'm not saying that Cook is the most reliable hands, but Parham and Anderson have been. You have so many different options to go with. And they even had Parham in the back of the end zone there. I think going to tight ends more is a good idea right now because Mike Williams is struggling and Herbert isn't really trusting him. Palmer's not he's been 50-50. It feels like some good plays getting open. Otherwise, where'd he go? He gets all these reps and then it's like 3 catches. That's not bad. I mean, he's a third wide receiver on the team, but I'd like to see a little bit more from him. But at this point, I'd rather go for Parham, Anderson, and Cook than, stick Jalen Guyton in the red zone, which they have been doing. And I've been a little bit surprised because they don't do anything with him in the red zone. So definitely odd there. So that's that. Me personally, I'd love to see Herbert on the move more. They don't do it a lot. This is one of those things where I think part of it is up to the quarterback. I think if you watch him against, in the Rose Bowl, you see him moving quite a bit. I think there's something they could build on. But, how comfortable is he? Does he want to do this? I think he does. I think getting him on the move more than one time per game is a good idea. I think they've tried it, a couple of times a game. But for the most part, it's not really Herbert being called to run as much as he opts to, he has to scramble and he goes for a couple of yards or whatever. I think this game against the Vikings, it feels like the only design run that they really had. I think they had one quarterback draw against the Chiefs, I think. Otherwise, it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of design. When it's RPO option, they basically hand it off to Eckler or throw it. But I'd like to see Herbert take off a couple of times and get some yards himself. Because no one's really stopping that right now. He's a pretty good runner. He's a big dude. And it generally seems to catch the defense by surprise. So again, it is a bit of a timing thing, right? You can't call this all the time. He's not Lamar Jackson. You're not building your offense around this. But I think you can call it. Why is that in there? I have no idea. Okay, so let me go over, there's the general things, I think, pros and cons of this offense before I wrap things up. Thank you for hanging in there if you have. So for me, the pros and the obvious things are that the team has improved on offense. It is undeniable that this is a top 10 offense, and it's only going to get better. This is a top 10 offense, even considering the opponents that they've played, right? EPA has improved. DVOA has improved. The rushing attack has obviously improved. The scheme protects Herbert from hits, right? I think that's almost one of the most important things is that, maybe there's the 2 less deep shots per game. Maybe, I don't know. But they're not subjecting Herbert to so many unnecessary hits. Herbert was pressured 195 times last season in 15 games. That's not good. And so part of that's the fact that they've, signed or drafted better players. That's true, right? Sam Tevy versus Rashawn Slater. Rashawn Slater is going to be better. Corey Lindsey versus Dan Feeney. Corey Lindsey has obviously been better, but the scheme also protects him from those hits too. And I like that. I think that's important. The red zone has improved from 2020. That's true. They're up, I think, 5%. Like I said, I think they'll only get better as they develop more. I also think that something that's not talked about are the in-season improvements Lombardi has made. What about all those illegal shifts? Those are gone, right? The red zone offense, which struggled early on, it's improved quite a bit. It's not perfect. There are some issues like the wide receiver screen, but the red zone offense in general has been better since early on in the season. That's true. I also admire that they throw out plays that don't work. All right. Remember the flea flickers? They tried a couple of times. Look, they tried it. They're trying to install different things. Didn't work. I think they tried it 2 or 3 out of 4 weeks or whatever it was. And I don't think it worked once. And they tossed it up. Have you seen it again? No. Right. If it were Lynn and the halfback draw or the halfback dive, right, they would keep running that same freaking thing over and over again. But if it were Lombardi, they would shift things, right? And they throw out plays that don't work. And the same ideas that in the run game, right? So they were trying to run a little bit more inside zone or gap or whatever the hell they were doing. Now I feel like you see them going more outside. And that's, again, an adjustment. I really like that. variations of similar concepts. So I showed that play action slide. So you have, it was that play action slide thing. It's gone to Williams. It's gone to Allen. It's gone to Parham. It's gone to Anderson, all sorts of different guys and all sorts of different ways. Just the three that I showed you. One was a pretty easy, bootleg, typical, standard slide to Williams. The next one was Anderson fake blocking to the left and going to the right on up tempo. And then against the Vikings, same sort of thing. Parham fake blocks in and goes out. Same bootleg, same sort of idea of a guy to the flat. Maybe I shouldn't call it play action slide, but generally the same idea. But it's variations of the same thing. Different players, different looks, all that. And I do think challenging Herbert is like, it's here. They are challenging Herbert. This is not a simple offense. The offense is going to get more complicated, but Herbert will get better in this offense. On the flip side, the con is that they're challenging Herbert, right? So maybe they should simplify things more. Let him run more. Let him move out of the pocket more. Maybe, I don't know, give him a better run game. That's not really on Lombardi as much as personnel at this point, because Eckler works and literally nobody else doesn't, or nobody else does, excuse me. But I think they are challenging Herbert. That's good for the long term, but right now he's going to struggle just a little bit because he's going to have to make those, he has to figure things out. But everyone's like, oh, he's not Drew Brees. You can't challenge him. Like I think you can. He had a 4.01 in college. I think you can challenge him. He's a smart guy. He picked up the NFL in like 3 seconds. He's like, okay, I'll be good. Offensive rookie of the year. So I think he can do it. So I think challenging him is tough right now, but will only pay off as the years go on. But some things you can play him on Lombardi. Some of our obvious things, right? Wide receiver screens, throw it out. They suck. They're not working at all. Have they worked at all this year? I can't think of one, honestly. The low rate of running back and tight end screens. If you're going to complain about a lack of, sort of pass being down this year, deep passes aren't down as much as I think as passes behind the line of scrimmage, right? Get Eckler involved. Maybe Jackson if he's healthy. Maybe it's because Jackson isn't healthy. Maybe it's because Roundtree and Kelly suck as receiving catches or receiving backs. But maybe try to get them involved a little bit more. A couple more of the game. I think it can work. Take the pressure off your quarterback. I think it's a pretty solid call. Running backs are good, or Eckler is good. Herbert gets to dump it off, run behind Slater. It's probably going to get a good amount of yards. I'd go for it. Get Herbert on the move more as a runner of the football. And I don't mean just a guy that scrambles and throws it. I mean, let's get him on the move as a running quarterback. One more time a game. I think one more time a game would be perfect. Twice a game, have him run it. If he gets 3, if he gets 4, whatever, but at least the threat is there, help you open up different things. And I have to blame some of the lack of explosive plays on Joe Lombardi. Are you calling the right ones? Are you calling them frequently enough? Should Herbert be out of the pocket more? Is it too complicated? Should be maybe a more simplified play. I don't know. And then I think, while this is fair, unfair, I think you have to talk about the lack of execution. So there's drops, there's misreads, miscommunication, right? Palmer goes one way, Herbert goes the other way. Cook goes one way, Herbert goes the other way for a pick 6. That falls on the coordinator too, I think. Fair or not, because I don't think Lombardi is made Keenan Allen and Austin Eckler suddenly drop the football. But, at some point, there's enough execution problems. We have to go, well, what's going on with the coaching here? What happens? Because the players are the same, the quarterback's the same. It's not like they're running anything particularly all that complicated or different in terms of what the receivers are asked to do. But, they're not executing right now. So that has to fall on Lombardi a little bit. So, I think the offense overall has improved. I think the offense will only get better. I think after tonight and through more games, you'll see that this offense is going to look a lot better. But it's kind of up to Herbert. It's up to Lombardi. It's up to the line. It's up to Staley. It's up to the defense. There's so many things going into it. So that is it from me. Very, very long presentation. My voice is almost dead. I can feel it. I need some water. But thank you guys for hanging in there. There's a lot. You can go back through. I'm not going to put a timestamp for any of this because I think I just want everyone to watch it from beginning to end. If you hate it, fine. You hit the dislike button. But I can't tell how many how many more dislikes there are. So hit like, subscribe, whatever. I appreciate you guys just hanging in there till the end. If you did, I'm sure half my audience quit before this part. So I appreciate you guys hanging in there. This is the best I could do in this short week. So hopefully you guys learned something or your perspective changed or whatever. You want to discuss what's going on in the comments, go for it. I just hope it's a more nuanced discussion than, oh, there's no deep passes because Lombardi's not calling them. At this point, there's enough people from Staley to me, to Charger Chat did a breakdown. I think the Lightning Round podcast did a breakdown on Twitter. What Staley is saying, what Daniel Jeremiah is saying, what the Draft Network is saying. Everyone's basically saying the same thing. I think Lombardi has a plenty of other things to be criticized for, but calling the frequency of deep passes called is not the problem. Blame something else. Blame the actual calls themselves, not the frequency of calls, if that makes sense. So anyway, thank you guys for listening. I know it's a long one. I appreciate it. As always, take care, bolt up. Hope they win tonight.